Welcome, everybody. I'm Nelson Pizarro, and this is Life in a Wine Bottle, where we talk in-depth look at what it takes to make a bottle of wine and what we use to make a bottle of wine. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast channel, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. So I'm super excited to have Arianna on our show today. It's going to be, she actually is the owner of Vino Cards, or the Vino Cards?
Vino Cards.
Vino Cards?
Yeah.
Vino Cards owner. This weekend, what was going on? Were you able to go out?
Yeah, enjoyed the sun this weekend. So my boyfriend and I have been quarantining with his parents.
Okay.
So we went into their house this weekend and
nice.
spent time at the pool.
LA area or?
Yeah, they live just outside. I guess it's still LA County, but they live in Santa Clarita. So yeah, we both grew up out there. So it's a very suburban spot.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So you're able to go out. And have you been going out lately, or have you been the quarantine?
We have to a little bit just for our sanity, I think. So going on walks. The beaches here in Santa Monica just opened up for recreational use. So we've been walking there, and we're trying to find the positivity in things, of course.
Now, before I move on, how are you with the mask situation? Are you kind of with the mask, and then you don't really want to talk to people, or if you see somebody without a mask, are you getting close to them? What's your feeling there?
We always try to dodge people, but we do have masks. On walks, we don't wear it as much because we're usually just walking in the street, and there's not a lot of people out here walking. It's more of like the main streets that we avoid. But of course, in stores and everything, we always have a mask with us. And
Yeah, just wondered. I feel like we've been seeing friends on like hikes, and you're and obviously you don't have a mask on because you're in the outdoor. It's not a crowded place.
Yeah.
And I feel like you kind of get close to them, and they should like have a color or something of saying, hey, you're too close to me, or I don't really care, you can come close to me, or I'm not sick, something to kind of tell me.
Yes, that's where you have to rely on the body language. You kind of step back the closer they get, so it kind of makes sense.
But then it just feels awkward, like
it does.
Am I sick, or what happened? So it's kind of strange, but I just want to kind of get your input on that, because I thought it was kind of funny.
It's hard to talk in masks. It's hard to, when you're ordering food, if we'll take takeout sometimes, it's hard for them to understand me. It's hard for me to hear them.
Yeah, you want to kind of move it down a little bit, but then it defeats it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's also, like it gets warm wearing that mask. You don't realize like how hot it actually gets, and it's a whole thing. But I don't know. I guess that's the culture for now.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully it changes soon. So
yeah.
All right, perfect. So let's go into these Vino cards, okay?
Yes.
So since you gave us a little bit, do you do a lot of work this weekend with the Vino cards, or we strictly play?
Yesterday was strictly trying to relax, but I started on Friday and Saturday. I had to send in more inventory to Amazon, so it's been a good last month.
Okay, that's really
for
exciting.
the product. Yeah.
Okay, that's very I've been seeing on Instagram, and mainly on Instagram, that you've been posting a lot of pictures of your Vino cards and your not podcast but YouTube channel, I'll say.
Yeah, YouTube channel. Yeah. Okay. So I've been posting a lot of photos that influencers have actually taken for me. So they're enjoying the product, and I like to share their photos too, and kind of have my audience go to their channel as well. So a mutual benefit from that. Right. But the YouTube channel I've been trying to get people over to. I started it a few weeks ago, and since we were isolating anyway, it was a good time to just do some wine tasting and share with people.
Everybody's been doing the YouTube channels or podcasting. So so give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started with no business experience at all. I wasn't even thinking that I'd be in this spot if you asked me 5-10 years ago. But I was really inspired by my boyfriend, who has his own business, and he works for himself, and
What's his business?
He has a product called Performance Nut Butter. So it's a paleo vegan snack that comes in a pouch. And so it's like healthy fats basically for
Oh,
people
nice.
who are kind of on the keto diet or things
Okay.
like that.
What does he have an Instagram or anything?
Yeah, he has it's at Performance Nut Butter, and he has a YouTube channel as well talking about it. It's under Travis Marziani.
Okay, make sure
But
you check that out. That's a quick little
yeah.
shout out there. So make sure you check that out. Okay, so
Yeah.
you
And he does really well with it, and he took on the Amazon space with his product too, and he saw a lot of success in it, and I've seen him make passive income pretty well. And so I was just working for a 9 to 5 job. It was first it was a dog walking service called
okay.
WAG. I don't believe they're around anymore, but I was doing just a lot of customer service work.
Mhm.
And so when I saw that he was making money so easily just from being at home, I said, well, I wanted to jump on that as well. Like,
I
that
don't know
sounds
about
fun.
easily, but I'm sure
Well,
there's
it
some
definitely took him a
challenges
lot
there.
of work. Yeah, it definitely
Uh,
years of hard work. But, from my point of view, it was like once you put in that work, it seems that after some time, it just becomes a passive source of income in different channels. He has different ways of doing that. But
okay.
I got inspired. He created a product that didn't exist that he loved. And so I wanted to do that too.
Okay.
So yeah, I
That's
tried to
perfect.
balance both. I didn't quit my job while I was starting my business with Vino Cards. I definitely tried to balance both until I felt comfortable with the way the business was going.
Okay, perfect. What
Yeah.
about were you into wine at that time or?
I was in the sense of going to wine tastings when we were traveling, or game nights involved a lot of wine with friends and everything. But what I found was that I didn't know a lot about wine. I just knew I liked red or white wine, just based on very blanket taste of the wine. And what I realized was that a lot of my friends felt the same. Like, no one really talked about it. You would ask them, what kind of wine should I bring for our game night tonight? And they'll just say, well, I like red, I like white. And I was like, okay, that's the extent of what we know.
Correct.
Um, so when I was brainstorming ideas of what to create as far as a product that didn't exist yet, that can benefit me, and then of course my friends and everything, I thought, well, wine is kind of a really big category. It's sometimes very intimidating to approach wine. There's
Correct.
just so much information. There's so many different ways to make wine. And I just thought, I don't know how I can remember everything, even at a wine tasting. Like, I don't remember at the end, like what I just learned, you forget the next day. So I took the idea of something that I enjoyed for fun, drinking wine with friends, and what's the best way to learn, and how did I learn in school? Well, it was with flashcards. That's a good way to kind of relearn kind of like the main information you should know about wine. And so I put them together and Vino Cards was born.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad
Yeah.
you said that because one of the biggest thing I want to show part of this podcast as channel is I want to make sure that we're not showing that wine is just for a certain audience.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason why is because it's just wine is just so different. It's very social. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're not expecting to drink wine to get drunk.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a completely different atmosphere. And then you get into when you're saying, hey, I can't remember what I tasted or what bottles I liked when you went to the tastings. When I have people coming into the winery and they just come in similar to you, and then all of a sudden I get a person with like a little black notebook and they'll come and they'll sit down by themselves
Oh.
and I take and I pour them and then they write down. I'm like, oh, this must be a critic or something. They must be like,
Yeah.
and most of them are like, well, I do some blogging here and there, but I just enjoy tasting wine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like kind of challenge myself and remember what I tasted and just write down. And then I go through this area where I'm at the region and figure out what wines I like and see if there's any, like, if there's anything close to what I like from this winery to that winery. So I thought that was really interesting that you said that. So you get the
Yeah.
two rims that I like to kind of show.
Oh, that's
Okay.
great. Yeah, no,
Perfect.
exactly. And I think what's really great about the cards as well is that I put enough information on there as far as like sweetness and acidity levels and types of different foods and that you can pair it with and what you'll smell and taste. And it of course all varies with the person. You can have different taste buds, or a different winemaker will make a wine a different way. So you might not see everything, but I think if you're going through the set, people can really discover different wines that they didn't think that they would like. If they know they'd like a sweeter wine, they can see on the back of the cards, this is a sweeter wine, and they might like it and they would have never known otherwise. I really want to make the cards be like a wine tasting experience around the world. I have wines from all over the world in a set of Vino cards. So
that's perfect.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how did the project start? Was it just you? Did you have your boyfriend involved in it? Was it friends, or
Yeah.
a bit about that?
Sure. Well, at the beginning, it was just me and my boyfriend. We were both brainstorming the idea. And then when we saw the potential with it, I started doing more of like the designs and how I wanted it to look, what wines I wanted to include. So he was more of like the advisor for me, like really helping me with the business aspect of it while I learned all about that. And I spent a whole summer, I started it in 2018. So I spent that summer learning about wine like really in depth. So I did research all summer. I included all the wines that I felt like people should taste, the ones that I've liked, well-known wines, and really just went from there. And once I felt like I had the solid foundation of what I wanted the product to be, I decided to create a launch group on Facebook and see who was interested in it. So I started adding friends and family.
What was it? The Kickstarter? Is that what you?
Yeah, I
I
started
read
a
a little bit about
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, so with the launch group, all of my friends and family and their friends and family, I got them interested in the process and what I was creating so that by the time I did have a Kickstarter, they were really excited about it. And
You had
that
a following.
I had a following, I had a community, a tribe. And when I set my goal for $5,000 to raise on Kickstarter, which was going to fund my first production run, and I surpassed it luckily. So it really kind of solidified a bit for me. Like I felt more confident that this can actually be something that people want.
You had a customer. You
I
had
had a
customers that
customer.
would purchase.
Yeah. And yeah, so all of it, like as far as the creative aspect of it, it was a collaboration of working with my boyfriend and then asking people in the launch group, like, what do you guys want from a product like this? Like, what is it about wine that you've found intimidating before that I can make it maybe easier for you to appreciate in the long term, everything about wine. So yeah.
Perfect. What was there? Were you going to school at the time, or did you go to
No.
college, or is it just strictly you went to work right away after high school?
So after high school, I actually went to Oregon State University. So I grew up in LA, but I moved out there for school and I studied something completely different. I studied zoology. So I love wildlife conservation.
Okay, so now you're completely. There's
Yeah.
no. Yeah, I wouldn't know what you'll. I guess there's that winery that has like a little zoo there that you can kind
Yeah,
of work
there's
with.
those.
Work with the wine and the
Yeah.
animals. So
Or perhaps like maybe a sustainable way to make wine. Like who knows? There's a lot of maybe some connection there.
uh,
But yeah, after I graduated in 2015, I lived in Africa for a year doing that wildlife conservation work. And then when I came back, I couldn't find a job in wildlife conservation. It would typically be like at a government level, and it's very difficult to get your foot in the door with that. So I
experience.
tried.
Everything with experience.
Yeah, it's all with experience. You need to know somebody. It gets
Connections.
difficult.
Okay.
So I was just working, a typical minimum wage job just to have some money while I was searching for another job in my field, and that took about a couple years. So it was just nothing was coming up for me. That's why I was so intrigued by having your own business, like creating my own hours, the work that I can put in, and that I can grow it and expand it as much as
Yes.
I
See the
needed it.
benefits, right? The
Yeah.
fruits of the vines. For me, is the fruits of the vines and the grapes.
Yeah.
So okay, perfect. And then
Hmm.
just so a little. Let's see. Is there like a specific description you can tell the listeners or the viewers of
Hmm.
exactly wine cards? What will you say? What will you kind of give to them?
Yeah, I would say that it's so it's a set of 50 flashcards that highlights wine from around the world. So it's broken up into
Perfect.
12 different
That's
categories.
exactly all we needed.
Yep.
That's as simple as it can get. But then now you're gonna go a little bit further. So you broke it up into 12 categories, you said?
Yep, into 12 categories. So it's so noble whites, noble red wines or sparkling wines, and then regionally into France, Italy, Spain. So just around the world like that. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a really sweet product.
Yeah.
And then so basically, why would so a beginner level,
Mhm.
why would they use it? And then for a more advanced sommelier, why would those, what would you say? Why would they use them?
Yeah, so I think for a beginner level, when you go through each of the cards, you're just learning the essential information that you should look for when drinking that specific wine. So with the flashcards, it's not overbearing information on something. If you know that you like red wines, you can pull out red wine cards and just look at it and see like, okay, this is what I should look for and taste and then smell some tasting notes. And I think the biggest thing is that you don't feel overwhelmed, and it's always information that you can reference. It's cards that you can share with your friends at a table. If you're drinking, one bottle of wine, you can use the cards and talk about it. So I wanted to create the social aspect of it that I think beginners might feel more comfortable with.
Mhm.
So that like if your friends or family are not huge into wine, you can all learn together, and it feels more freeing and more relaxing,
Educational piece and not make them
educational.
feel overwhelmed of saying, I don't
Yeah,
know about wine, I just drink it. That's kind
yeah,
of a normal that I get. "Oh, I don't know about red wine, but I just drink it.
yeah.
And it is what it is.
But it could
Um,
pique their interest, even if you just
correct.
want to drink the wine. But if you read on a Cabernet and you know that there's going to be like a blackberry or something like that, or whatever it is, cranberry, they might be like, oh, maybe I do taste that a little bit. It kind of sparks a little bit of idea and perhaps long term
Okay.
intrigue. But yeah, something
And,
like that.
and before you tell me about the sommeliers or maybe wineries,
Hmm.
um, just to let everybody know, these cards aren't little business cards. Okay, so
No.
you don't need glasses or a magnifying glass to read the description. How
Hmm.
big are they? A four
They're
by
4 by 6.
okay,
Yeah.
4 by 6, guys. So it's probably I wouldn't even know what to describe it. It's kind of like a basic card,
Yeah,
as
and
big
it's a
as a
nice like
green card.
stock of, so it's not flimsy. It's like a good piece of
It's a
flashcard.
good material. It isn't
Mhm.
just gonna break. And it's a nice little box as well. So yeah, it's really
Yeah.
exciting. So tell us a little bit with the wineries. What would you say wineries or sommeliers? What would you say they were using for that?
Yeah, for a little more advanced level, I've gotten a lot of people from social media tell me that they're using the flashcards to study for their wine exams. So if they're
Uh,
learning to become a
that's
sommelier.
yes, and that's a big exam. And
Yeah.
I'm not, and down the road on another episode, I'm gonna have somebody that's been going through classes here in San Diego State
Oh,
of
okay.
becoming their I think class 1 or whatever it's called, master
Mhm.
class, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're going to, so I'm going to have them in too to talk to them a little bit about their process. So this could be a good little intro opening into them, because
Yeah. I
they're
mean,
studying a lot. They're studying
I'm
a lot.
sure. Yeah, and they have to know so much information. So hopefully like just the simpler and even, just simpler information, they can reference the cards and they could help them.
That's perfect. What about a winery?
For wineries, I think that it's a really good post wine tasting like experience for someone. So once they've gone through the winery and tried all the different wines and food pairings, if they want to kind of continue that at home, using Vino cards I think is a good way to sum up what they've tasted. But of course with wineries there's different ways that they're making a specific wine, so it could vary,
A
but
tweak a little bit, but in general, if
yeah.
you get a certain varietal, it should be pretty close. Like Petit Straw, it's most likely dry.
Yeah.
It's big, inky. It's not so. And your descriptions are pretty. I don't think the Petit Straw actually. Now that I brought it up,
Yeah.
do you have a Petit Straw on that card list?
Um
Do you
I
know?
believe so.
I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. Maybe I lost it.
Let
But
me let me look. Yeah,
but
but it's a Syrah. Like I have a Syrah on
I
there.
know
I
the
don't know if it's
Syrah or
specifically
Shiraz.
petite.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
just to let you know from a user,
Of
I just
course.
happened because we're just tasting doing a barrel taste. But let's do a quick little shout out. So our little shout outs basically just just tell your Vino cards, your handles, your YouTube channel, and anything else you want to kind of have the listeners kind of go after right now, real quick.
Yeah, of course. So I sell Amazon, or I sell Vino cards on Amazon. So you can find it on there just by searching the name. And then on Instagram,
VINOS
yes.
or
Um,
VINO and then cards.
Yeah, VINO space cards with an S at the end.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then on Instagram, it's the same, but it's at Vino, VINO underscore cards.
Okay, perfect.
And those are the main channels that I'm using Vino cards for. On Instagram, I do giveaways with collaborations with other wine um, influencers. I'll do post on my YouTube channel, which is also Vino Cards, spelled the same way, and that's where I'll have 3 to 4 minute videos going through all the cards in my set. And so I'll do a quick wine tasting, things you should look for and taste in a video format. So
Perfect.
yeah.
That's a good little shout out there. Make sure you check that out, everybody. Quick little sponsor shout out for Castelli Family Vineyards, which is the winery that I'm at, I work at, part owner. Here's a little, let's see if viewers will see that, if they can see it. It's a Petit Syrah 2015. And a little funny thing that happened was that, I don't know if you know much about bottles, but I didn't. So usually these bottles that have the smaller shoulders, they're Burgundy bottles, and they're supposed to be for Syrah and Pinot.
Okay. Yeah, I recognize it for Pinot. Yeah.
Okay, so the Petite Syrahs are usually have the high shoulders. Well, we ran out of bottles.
Oh no!
So I had to use these ones. So that's always a funny thing that happens here at the winery. There's always some random stuff going on.
Oh wow!
So make sure you follow us or follow Castelli Family Vineyards, where you can taste the love of the wine, everybody. All right, let's move on to the next question. So how did you start getting into wine? Because I know you talked about it with friends and everything, but was it somebody that turned you on to wine, or were you just like, hey, I'm getting older, should I just start buying wine?
I noticed that with the culture of getting older, people like to drink more wine. It's like you said earlier, it's not about getting drunk, but just having an appreciation of drinking something with whatever food you're eating. So it seemed, again, really intimidating to me to have to maybe act as if I know about the wine when I knew I didn't know anything.
Do you remember the first time you tasted wine in a social setting, or was it in a restaurant?
I think it was in a social setting. It was with my family, and at least I could be honest with my reaction with it, because at first, not having tasted wine, to me it seemed bitter and too dry. I don't even remember what type it was.
It's similar to coffee.
100%.
I always say that it's just so big, and if it's not sweet, because obviously the sweetness on our tongue and our gums, that's what makes everything taste better. But then with wine, just the acidity, the tartness, just very harsh, when it really is probably a good wine.
Yeah, exactly. It was a lot going on to someone who was a complete novice. So, but yeah, as I got older, it was the love and the culture that was surrounding the wine. I also traveled to Italy, and of course, they're loving having wine with everything. And so,
Sangiovese.
And it just seems so fun. Like I started to associate that with like a fun dining experience, and I wanted to learn more about it. And so it was just more of just intrigue, like complete like awe of like, okay, how are people loving this so much? Like I want to see what the hype is about. And yeah, so it really just started off of like curiosity, like why is everyone loving wine? Like how can I love it too?
That's perfect. That's it. That's exactly. I mean, some start at your age, some start in 50s. They just they see it all the time. They get older, and then all of a sudden everybody's bringing wine around, so they start tasting wine. So I like always hearing how people started with wine. It always gives me a little sense of where they're coming from, and then their steps that they're to enjoy it, and if they're enjoying it, they're trying to learn more about it.
Yeah, and what I love about that culture too is that once you start to really love it and enjoy it, you want to share that with other people. So it just continues to expand and bring other people into it.
And that's where I always feel like people feel intimidated, because they think that it's the snobbiness. about it. Like, oh, since they know so much about it, they feel intimidated, right?
Yeah.
So they don't really want to talk about it. But it's kind of, I think we should think about it differently, and it's more of, hey, they took a lot of time to learn about this product. They took a lot of time to learn about this wine and why it's so special. And you should ask them, because they most likely will talk to you.
Yeah.
Most everybody, maybe some of them might be, but it's like anything.
Mhm.
It can be like an athlete, it can be a professor at school that they're PhD and they just feel like they know everything. So they don't need to talk to somebody that has no clue about anything, right? So
Yeah.
I always like to put that in there. Well, perfect.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, we just finished part one. Our topic was wine products, and we had our special guest, Vino Cards. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and podcast at Life in a Wine Bottle to check out part two. Thank you. Bye.